Welcome to Meij-tech and the e-help for hang gliders I do here in Sweden, or the kits that I do. And some of you asked me about what's included in a kit. So today we just look inside what's in the full kit and the different part kits that you also can order, depending on how skilled you are in the workshop or how you want it made. If you don't have the possibility to build it yourself, of course you can ask me and see if I have the opportunity and time to put most parts together. So let's take a simple look on what's in the different kits on the e-help. And this is the latest kit that I offer now. It's the ready-made ESC, the speed controller, with a Hobbywing 260 amp opto speed controller with the connectors, the connector for the main switch, and the cabling with a connector inside here for the motor cabling. And this is pre-programmed the same way I have it, so it's easy, just connect and go. And this is a new option that I'm happy to offer, because I understand it is a little bit of a problem to solder those bigger, fatter cables. So this is a simple way to get it ready-made. Yes, so let's take a look what's inside the what I call the full kit. The full kit, it's not including the motor and the batteries. And a short explanation why is hard to ship batteries, so it's much better than you buy them online in the part of the world that your location are into, and you know the specs. It's 7S and at least 16,000 milliamps up to 20,000, and the same with the Leo Motion motor. It's made in Switzerland, high quality, but it means it's outside EU. So for me, is it expensive to buy the motor and then sell it to you? So it's much better than you buy that online by yourself, and it's easy to mount when everything else is ready. But let's take a look what we have inside the full kit. It's also possible to buy part of these, you know, if you are a little bit more handy and like to work in the workshop yourself. So of course we can start over here. We have the battery box. That's where you have your batteries and also the connector to the main carbon tube. And in the end of the main carbon tube you have the motor mount ready drilled and everything, so for the motor, and also the connectors that you will need to solder on the motor with a shrimp tube too, and the folding device so you can fold it down to a short package. And you have the leg mount complete with the rubber cords and rope up to the hook in point and so on. And over here we have the plate that you mount on your harness, and you have to use different kind of clamps that you find locally to fit with your harness, if it's tubes inside it or if it's an aluminium plate or some other device. But this is what you mount on your harness off of the hook-in lines. And you can have this on your harness only when you fly without a motor. It's not in the way, no problem with that. Here we also have the two plates that we are used to clamp the speed controller and the electronic box on the tail boom or the main boom. So this is the new thing, that I have the speed controller ready-made with the soldering, everything, and you just mount it with the main switch, because I found out soldering is the hardest thing to do for people that are not so used to be in the workshop and work with the soldering of high area cabling. But I have solved that, so you can buy this ready-made with a programmed ESC speed controller too, that you connect to the electronic box with the mouth control you have seen on the videos. You have the connectors that you solder to the batteries. First I was delivering these type of connectors that you have to solder the cable direct to, but when you are working with a battery and voltage, it's not so nice to do this. It's a little bit stressed. So it's better to cut off these pretty short and connect them one by one to the battery cable. And look at the video especially about soldering cable I have done for that. But I still deliver those connectors, but these are the male model, and that's what you solder to your charging device. You know, you need to buy a charger that takes LiPo battery up to 7S. But this is ready for that, so it's just to solder on those cables that you will get. In the kit you also have the prop ready drilled to fit on the Leo Motion motor. So it's the size that I use. If you are in very warm conditions, of course, later on you can use maybe a different prop, but this is the recipe that I have been flying with for several years now, so I know it works, but you can always have your own mind about how things should be. Other things that are in the kit are of course some Velcro straps for the cabling on the main bone. You have the protection shield over the batteries that you mount on the battery box, and you also have the bends here in plastic that you put in the end of the legs, so it's easy to drag the e-help on the ground. So that's more or less everything you need. Yeah, even more Velcro here for the battery mounts and so on. So I try to put in most things. You will buy some screw and nuts and so on also to have it together, of course. But this is the main part. But it's also possible to buy these in smaller package. We can take a look on that too. So this is the basic hardware kit. These are the parts that are hard to do by yourself in most cases. We have the ready-made propeller for the Leo Motion motor. We have the leg mount with rubber cord and so on. We have the motor mount with the screws. We have the folding device. And we have the battery box with the sprint and the mounting blocks. The harness mount and the ESC and the electronics box mounts. So this is the small kit, the basic hardware kit. And another option is to buy only the electronic box ready-made with the mouth control. This works to connect to all the ESC, I would say, on the market more or less, but it's a hard thing to find out yourself how to do it. I'm sure you understand that it's a lot of work to find out this recipe that works, and I will say stick to the recipe and you know this is gonna work. It's some of our customers have had some other ideas about motors and so on, and that's a good thing. You can experiment by yourself. But if you want to make it easy and simple, stick to the recipe, I would say. And also I want to say thank you for the big interest that have been. I have so far made delivery to Canada, USA, inside EU and inside Scandinavia. So it's great to see that at least more or less 10 people now are building this kind of e-help and are flying with it too, some of them already. So you see the opportunity I say 80% of my flying today is e-help, but that's of course depend on that I live on more or less farmer country. It's flat country. I don't have the mountains. If I drive away 1 or 2 hours, I have 300 feet, 100 meters slopes or hills. So this is a great way for me to get a lot of flying, especially thermal, but also to find those slopes that I can do slope soaring on that I don't reach normally because they don't have a start location on the top. Maybe they have it for paragliders, but not for hang gliders. So it gives me the opportunity to start on the landing area, close to the car in fact, go up with a e-help and slope soar, and maybe hit some thermals too. And after that I'm do the landing close to the car too, and it keeps everything so simple. And it's a lot of fun to be able to do this. I'm 65 now, and I got into this after 40 years of and that's because that I saw what people have done with electric motors on the hang gliders. It gives me the possibility to fly when the weather condition is right, and just 10 minutes from where I live. It's great. So, you know, the parts are available. The delivery time to have it ready-made here before I ship it is normally around 2 weeks. So don't be too stressed. Take care, fly safe, and enjoy the way you are flying.